If you're going to San Francisco, be sure to wear your game face. In the Bay City, Super Bowl 60 is either a golden gate of opportunity or a bridge too far. This is a town built on visions of fame and glory sparked by the 19th century gold rush. But for every panhandler that found fortune amid these vertiginous hills, there are many more who found only the boulevard of broken dreams. The Seattle Seahawks and their dark side defense, proven against even the brightest offensive talents. Sam Darnold, 60 minutes away from one of the greatest redemption arcs in NFL history. Patriots have found a way too, hanging on by their fingertips and ploughing to victory through the snow. This is a team bonded in a triumph of brotherhood through adversity. Drake May follows a path forged by the GOAT. So is it to be a new Lombardi triumph for New England, or revenge for Super Bowl 49 served cold by Seattle? Levi Stadium, Super Bowl Sunday, is where we find out.
Welcome to Santa Clara and welcome to the Irish NFL show's Super Bowl LX extravaganza. We're here just in sight of Levi Stadium, just over our shoulders here. It's a trademark foggy day with the fog just starting to burn off. We hope you're all well where you are back home. We're very much looking forward to bringing you all our Super Bowl picks and previews over the next hour. I'm joined by Shane, Mr. Brennan, Brian, Life of Brian O'Leary, Kieran, Bring It to the Boyle, and Connor, Trophy Brophy. We're with you for the next hour or so in association with QuinnBet. Shane, we spent the last week, you've spent longer than any of us here in and around San Francisco. Here we're not too far from Santa Cruz. If you remember the old Thrills song, we're looking for some thrills on this pitch tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, I guess thrills is definitely what we're expecting, but of course we're coming into this battle between two defensive teams. That doesn't mean we're not going to see a shootout. I think it's funny when we come into these games between two teams who have not seen each other and have not even played each other in our teams of similar styles over the course of the season. They definitely keep things unpredictable, and when things are unpredictable is when things get a little crazy. So I'm definitely looking forward to it.
Give us a little bit of the flavour of the week. You've been here since last Sunday. You were setting up down in the Moscone Centre just 6 days ago as you got everything ready for Radio Row. We had a great week of it down there in association with our partner Dunes and Drams. Dave from Dunes and Drams came out with us and was hustling to get people flying over to Ireland to play golf and sample some whiskey back home. It was an unbelievable week at the Moscone Centre and out following the two teams as well. And I know we'll go in a little bit more depth to what the Patriots and Seahawks have been preparing and how their training has been going and the interviews we had with players and so on. But it's been a great week in and around San Francisco and the wider Valley area.
I mean, it's Super Bowl week has always been a festival of football, but it's this week, this time, because the Pro Bowl was coming into the start of the week, it's almost like Electric Picnic got updated to Coachella. That's kind of the way it's been so far. Having all of the stars come around from really early on, and we had a chance to see some of the players train for the Pro Bowl. The idea that Steve Young and Jerry Rice were just there coaching with guys and shooting the shit with Jared Goff and Dak Prescott and everybody else is there. It really has built a great sense of excitement into the city center of San Francisco. What's interesting about this is the fact that, of course, we're in Santa Clara, which is 70 kilometers away from the city center of San Francisco, which has meant that sort of all the media and the hype and the Pro Bowl and everything else has been kept very much in downtown, whereas the guys who are focusing the play on the field have been out here in Silicon Valley, sort of focusing on business at hand, which I think probably makes sense. It keeps things nice and separate for the guys who are actually putting on the show on Sunday. But it's been a really fun atmosphere around the city center of San Francisco. We see a lot of people coming in the later part of the week. A lot of Seahawks fans are coming around. I went for a walk up around the Golden Gate Bridge yesterday. The amount of Seahawks fans that were here were unbelievable. I think someone was telling me that they saw Seahawks fans come out from Hawaii with Aloha Hawks or something like that written on the back. So the invasion sort of from further up the West Coast has definitely started from them, and they're coming in with a great sense of anticipation. But the atmosphere is pretty fun. There's a lot of people who have been sort of milling around. But I guess there's a greater sense of football celebrity this week because the Pro Bowl was held just across the street from where we were based in Radio Row. That was a great thing to sort of keep the early part of the week almost as hectic as the later part of the week, because as you know, from Thursday onwards, when the NFL Honors comes in, that's when everything really fizzes up. The fans are coming in, the hotel prices start coming up, and all the celebrities who are watching the honors and the red carpet really sort of bring that flavor as well. So this is probably the first time we really had, like, from Sunday onwards, the real sort of the push for how great Super Bowl week is.
Brian, this is Super Bowl number 5 for you, so you're bringing a lot of experience to the table with us at this stage. And I should say right at the outset here, we're in the CBS broadcast position, thanks to Tim, Phil, and the team at CBS for hosting us, as they have done for the last 4 years now. Really a special thing for us to be able to broadcast within sight of the stadium and do our live preview from the venue itself, as we've been able to do for the last couple of years. Compare and contrast what you've found since your first, which was SoFi, second one Glendale, third one Vegas, fourth one New Orleans, and this is your fifth now at Santa Clara.
It just seems to get bigger and bigger every year. Kind of just the enormity of the occasion. The first year was unique because it was just after COVID, so even the hustle and bustle of Radio Row and everything that went on around that particular Super Bowl was slightly limited to what we would have probably seen in the past in terms of going to the number of sporting events. And I just thought that was the norm. But then obviously the following year, it was a real eye-opener when we went to Arizona and you're in the Radio Row. We've all experienced Radio Row this week. I don't think I've experienced Radio Row on Thursday in particular any other year. Like, it was off the charts for me. And I'm fortunate this is my fifth one. But as Shane's alluded to, we're seeing celebrities, film stars, former players. We have Ron Rivera on. We talked so long about the content in which we do. It was a fantastic weekend. But again, here we are now. We're 24 hours or slightly over 24 hours away from the biggest game of the week. And it feels like it's taken a long while to get there. We've spoken so much about a lot of people this week being very heavy on the Seahawks, and that kind of concerns me if you were a Hawks fan, because the Patriots know what they're about. I know it's 7 years since they've been to a Super Bowl, but it's going to be an interesting game of chess tomorrow.
Kieran, you hit the road from St. Augustine, about an hour south of Jacksonville, on Wednesday. You arrived in and hit the ground running at Radio Row, went around chasing some interviews for us, got some really interesting perspective from players, from coaches, and from some NFL analysts. I got to say, the longer the week has been going on, the more I'm starting to feel the Patriots' momentum building.
You know what? I'm feeling exactly the same way. I think the first week, after the playoff or after the conference championship game, again, it's probably more of a reflection of how the Seahawks kind of dismantled the Rams and how the Patriots maybe struggled a little bit against the Broncos in that game. But I think it's with all the talk of the Seahawks kind of dominating. I think the line is it still 5? It's in that area, 4.5, 5. But the longer the week has gone on, I'm starting to come around to the Patriots a little bit more. We all know Vrabel and the monster of a coach he is, and how he's able to lead his players and how they just buy into what he's bringing. I'm looking at the different aspects of the team, the run game, obviously the both sides of the ball. I love what Stevenson and Henderson have been doing all season. And then you look at the Seahawks, they've lost Charbonnet. Is that going to have an impact? They were able to kind of withstand that against the Rams, but is that going to be an impact? Because now you're coming up against a Vrabel-led defense or a Vrabel coach defense who's he's going to be putting words in all those coordinators' ears and helping them out. But I'm definitely coming over towards the Patriots. I think it's going to be a lot of people are kind of dismissing the Super Bowl as maybe not that exciting. I think it's really exciting because the storylines everywhere. Just like last year when everyone's talking about both sides of the line for the Chiefs and for the Eagles. But this year, I mean, you have the run game situation. You have all the free agents who've made an impact on both sides, on both teams. You've got the quarterback discussions. You've got the redemption for Darnold. You've got Drake May. Is he going to go on a similar run to Brady? It's year 2 for him. For Drake May. So there's a lot of great storylines. I've definitely started to come back towards the Patriots. I'm still kind of on the fence about where I'll be, but we'll discuss that further in the talk.
Yeah, we very much will do. Shane.
So just to cut on that, right? Firstly, I'm glad to finally find somebody on this week who actually thinks the Patriots might win this game. You ask like 20 people around here, and 19 of them will say the Seahawks. And the one guy who said the Patriots is probably some guy from Boston anyway.
No,
like
Brian McFadden.
He picked the Patriots.
Yeah,
Oh,
he
fair,
did, he
a
did.
fair play to him. But I mean, I did. Sorry, that sounded worse than I
There's
meant.
no
in
cheering in
fairness.
the press box. Come
Yeah,
on.
that sounded worse than I meant. But in terms of what you were saying about like how excited people are for the Super Bowl, it's funny. Like before I left Ireland, people were like, "I don't know, I wanted to see Allen or Mahomes or something like this." Okay, like all these Colin Coward elitists over here just wanted like the really top stars from preseason. I mean, we're coming to the Super Bowl where both of these teams were 60-1 before going to the season, which I think for the Seahawks was ridiculous. The idea that they were 60-1 before the year, I found it was a little bit unusual. As opposed to the Patriots compared to last year. But if you think about even just the storylines and Sam Darnold, I know we'll talk about it later in a second. All the ghosts he's had to slay to get to this point after 3 years in New York, flamed out, 2 years in Carolina, flamed out, coming here to San Francisco to finally rehabilitate his career, get the chance in Minnesota, which many didn't foresee happening, but the injury to JJ McCarthy gave him his chance. Minnesota then deciding, actually, we don't need this 14-win quarterback anymore. We're going to go with our young guy.
And the GM who made that decision got fired.
Exactly. So, I mean, considering all the goals he's had to slay of his past, the Rams, I always thought were a team who was sort of really got on top of him. We saw that in the last year's playoffs, and then in the first game, he ended up coming back to mentally get over the Rams twice this year. That's one ghost slain, and the last ghost for him to slay now is the New England Patriots, because of course that's who he was seeing ghosts against when he was at the Jets. And I think it's set up there for not only in that respect for obviously for revenge for Super Bowl 49. So I think there's plenty of talking points and fire as we felt that around talking to Seahawks fans around the city here. I mean, that definitely adds a level of excitement here. There's the history of the players and the clubs.
It almost sounds like you want them to win.
Just picking up a slight sense that maybe you're leaning that way.
Yeah, no, I'm setting the table here. But just I just don't understand.
Setting the table with a big Patriots tablecloth.
One massive red, white, and blue. But I'm just I was just saying this. A lot of people were kind of looking down on this because the nature of how the Patriots got in to the AFC playoffs, we'll talk about later, and felt like, I'm not sure how pumped I am for this particular matchup, but I think it's going to be a very, very good game.
Well, I'm reflecting as you're talking on some of the sound bites that we've had from during the week, and please check out the interviews across our YouTube and our socials. We've been pumping out interviews and pumping out live streams all week, and if you've missed any of them, we got some great content with the likes of Dan Orlovsky, Ryan Leaf, Ron Rivera, and Tiffany Blackman. But the one that's sticking with me as you're talking, Shane, is we had a chat with Lorenzo Neal, who was a fullback, played many years in the league at the San Diego Chargers, the Saints, Bengals, among others. He actually played with Drew Brees and LaDainian Tomlinson in Drew Brees' early years in the league, and Drew Brees, who's just been inducted to the Hall of Fame, credited Lorenzo Neal with helping get him on the right track when he was struggling early on. They were going to bench him for Phillip Rivers, but he was saying, if you asked me which dressing room I'd want to be in, locker room, let's remember which side of the Atlantic we're on, I would want to be in the Patriots locker room. I'd be so fired up by being dismissed. I'd be so fired up by being underdogs. That's where I would want to be. That's the team I'd want to play.
Well, I just want to make a very quick distinction in sort of things we've seen from the Seahawks this week and seen from the Patriots. I was here with the Patriots. They're actually staying in hotels across the way here on Thursday when we had a chance to speak to Seahawks over the course of the week. The Patriots have gotten this far by making it about themselves and not about their opponents. They're sick of listening to all this talk about the schedule. They're sick of listening to this talk about the way that the defenses that they've had to play. You asked Stephon Diggs, hey, what about your offense? And he's like, listen, we've won. I don't care how we win. If we get ugly wins, we win. What's the phrase that the Patriots come into this? We've all we got. We all we need. And even just the way that Mike Vrabel's going on with this sort of this jacket with the Warriors on it, he's keep making sure it's about us. It's about what we have inside our own building.
Have you watched the Warriors yet? We've been trying to upgrade your 80s movie knowledge.
Yeah, unfortunately not. I might save it for the play on the way back.
For the offseason.
Yeah, I have to go to a big sort of movie tear for the offseason. But just to flip it over to the Seahawks, right? The Seahawks, I think, aren't quite making it much about themselves as they should be. Their folks, because I mean, so much of their success so far has been what they've learned about their opponents. They played 2 NFC West teams already in the playoffs, managed to decode them by the fact that they've had a lot of face-to-face action. But what did we see yesterday in the Seahawks press availability? Cooper Kupp coming out with a T-shirt saying, "I heart Sam Darnold." Obviously making a joke as the way people are going on about Drake May. Not quite sure if that's a great mental tactic. If you're already sort of making it about your opponent, you should be making it about yourselves. And that's the difference between the Patriots and the Seahawks. Not to give away our picks too much already before the start of the show, but it's interesting to see the different kind of mentality in terms of what you were talking about, the dressing rooms between both of these teams.
Well, if there's one thing I take away from this opening segment, it is that Shane Brennan is keeping receipts. He's coming after all the people who are predicting the Seahawks to win this Super Bowl. We're quaking in our boots here without giving away who's predicting what just yet. We're going to delve in a little bit deeper into the Seahawks. Then we'll do a segment on the Patriots, and then we'll put ourselves on the spot and we'll say who we think we got for Sunday.
You know great odds, you're in control, you always bet responsibly, and you're not afraid to choose alternatives. That's why you bet with QuinnBet. Build your own unique football bets with Create a Bet. Winning team, first goal scorer, number of goals, the possibilities are endless. And with a 4-star Trustpilot customer service rating, why not give QuinnBet a shot? QuinnBet, we bet you love it.
Welcome back to the Irish NFL Show's live Super Bowl preview here at the site of Super Bowl LX in Santa Clara, California. The team's all here, and we're now looking at the Seahawks in a little bit more detail. Kieran O'Donovan, you were down at the Seahawks media availability earlier on during the week. Saw the likes of Cooper Kupp, Mike McDonald, Sam Darnold, and others in action. What did you take away from your Seahawks experience this week?
In general, I just took away how relaxed they were. As you said, like myself and Ben, really lucky on Wednesday to get out to San Jose and chat to a couple of the players. Got to ask Mike McDonald a question at the presser. I thought he came across really relaxed as well. Clear to see that the occasion hasn't been too big for them. Was hugely impressed by Sam Darnold and just his composure, his the way he was just so natural in everything he answered, so honest. He didn't back away from, he must be absolutely sick of all the talk about his journey and his his trials and tribulations early on in his career. But I mean, he's not shying away from it. He's completely acknowledging the fact that he had lessons to learn as well, that that was all part of a learning process for him. But in terms of this game,
it's rarely that I've seen. I think he's so impressive in the way he bears that, because all quarterbacks and all high-profile players experience their ups and downs, but basically every question he's had for the last 6 or 7 years, and particularly in the last 2 or 3 years as he started that redemption arc, is almost along the lines of, when are you going to screw it up?
Yeah, and that's it. And the seeing ghosts, the ghost of seeing ghosts comes back to haunt him so often. But no, as I said, he doesn't shy away from it, but he was also so just so candid. We spoke to Cooper Kupp, as you mentioned, but he was asked a lot of questions about Cooper Kupp and the experience that he brought from his Super Bowl winning campaign with the Rams, and he was so honest about the friendship and that he's developing with Cooper Kupp. Really, really natural, and talked about setting standards, talked about that kind of an attitude. The racing each other to the locker room was a real thing I took away from that, and it wasn't lip service. It wasn't he wasn't throwing out sound bites just for the sake of it. Also, we spoke to Julian Love as well. We talked about how important is it for this defense to try and get out from under the shadow of the Legion of Boom and create their own identity to make their own history, and that comes by winning a Super Bowl this weekend. You don't get remembered as a named defense when you don't when you don't win. But again, so honest, so appreciative of the history of the club, but really anxious and eager to make their own this weekend as well.
A couple of things I picked up from the various conversations we had during the week, and one sticks in my mind from Brian Walters. You and I spoke to the former Seattle Seahawks receiver who's both won and lost a Super Bowl with the Seahawks. He talked about the hunger that the Seahawks have to get back there, and a lot of the hunger storyline has been about the Patriots after their 4-year drought, hoping to get another Lombardi, but the Seahawks really, really want this one.
Absolutely. We talk about sliding doors moments an awful lot on this show, and we ask ourselves, okay, if Malcolm Butler doesn't intercept that ball, if Marshawn Lynch gets the ball and runs it in, the Seahawks go back to back. How many more Super Bowls may they have won? Could they have kept the gang together for a little bit longer? They may or may not. But we love America's game. We love a football life, and that's where my base of knowledge comes from on the NFL. The last few Super Bowls have featured the stars, as Shane mentioned. This is going to be a great America's game, no matter who wins this. Yeah. It's going to be an unbelievable story for whoever wins this game, and it's going to be box office.
Before, I know you want to make a point quickly, Brian, but before you move on, the one thing that I also learned this week, as we both did from Jordan Rodriguez, how to pronounce Lagunitas. Not Lagunitas.
We need to get a sponsorship deal going with them, because we've mentioned him so much now.
Brian.
Yeah, the mind games. All week we talked about, I suppose, the strategy around the game, how the teams will line up, the tactical affair. But even Shane was alluding to the fact there's a bit of a siege mentality within the Patriots locker room around, we're here and we're not favourites and we're like a wounded animal and we're going to prove everyone wrong. But the Seahawks have, the togetherness that they've shown throughout the course of the season. If you reflect on that really difficult game which Sam Darnold had in SoFi, when he threw 4 interceptions, and after the game, all the players were very dismissive of even trying to criticise him for that game. They felt they could have done more to help him in that game. And even when they won the NFC Championship game, and the head coach says it's about us. It's always been about us. It's about the 12th man. You can recognise that they are very much as a unit, and I like the coaching. I love to see them that they're supportive of their quarterback because they're aware of the enormity of the occasion for him. They know he's under pressure. Like what you said, it's again, when is he going to screw it up? He may not screw it up at all. Maybe he'll go win that ring tomorrow.
We talked to Ron Rivera during the week, Kieran, and alongside Tiff Blackman, CBS's Tiff Blackman. Let us not be forget, we're our friends from CBS here. We talked to Ron, who not only has taken the Carolina Panthers to a Super Bowl as coach, but of course played for that legendary 85 Bears defense. He was jumping out of his skin to talk about how impressed he's been by that Seattle Seahawks unit. I mean, this is one of the better defenses we've seen, I think, over the last decade or more.
Oh yeah, and I think probably in the next 5 to 10 years we'll talk about this defense and the ferocity that they've shown all season. Again, we've during the course of the year we've talked about the comparisons between the Legion of Boom. Legion of Boom was a lot about Cam Chancellor and Richard Sherman and the secondary, but these guys up front, I mean, not just the safeties with Emanwari and the corners, but got Len Williams, the old Giants. It's just a massive unit. They hit so hard, they bring every pressure. And we talked during the year that it's no massive names just now. DeMarcus Lawrence is an absolute monster, but no massive names. But they're all playing for each other. They're all united in that one belief that nobody's bigger than the other person. Nobody's got an ego that's any bigger than anybody else. We're here for the one cause. We're here to bring the ruckus, bring pain. Terry Tate style, just absolutely demolish people.
The pain train, yeah.
Absolutely demolish people out there. And Rivera loves that stuff. I mean, between his playing career and his coaching career, he was huge on that. There's two things I want to talk about real quick with the Seahawks. One is
we have an hour. You don't have to be too quick.
Well, I just want to briefly touch on the work that John Schneider has done. I know GMs are massively popular in the league, and they're all household names as well as the quarterbacks and the coaches right now. But John Schneider taking this team, completely turning around the roster. Russell Wilson gone. Everybody on the roster that won the last Super Bowl is gone. He's brought in a completely new one. Letting Pete Carroll go at the time, a lot of people raised their eyebrows and said, is this the right decision? He's a legend in the building. And then just bringing in McDonald and just turning everything around. And the work that he has done, I mean, we talk about GMs a lot all the time, but the work he's done is phenomenal. Second is that we talk again about the Patriots free agency acquisitions in spring of this year, and look at the magic moves that the Seahawks have made between Darnold, paying DeMarcus Lawrence, and even the draft class as well. Just the players that they've brought in. It's just those two factors alone are huge success stories for the Seahawks. And again, we've all been talking about Sam Darnold and the reclamation project that he is, the redemption story. It'll be talked about all day tomorrow in the lead up on NBC. But I mean, that's really a testament to the work that he's put in. But I think those two things, the Schneider situation and the free agency, that's just bolstered that already monstrous roster.
They'll be talking about it on CBS too.
That too, yes. Yeah,
Kieran, you've been singing the praises of Nick Emanwari all week, and indeed for most of the season. He does go. There was a slight injury concern. When Kieran talked about culture, I was thinking about a point that you've made over and over again, and we saw it manifested in the championship game. Strategy is what you do, but culture is who you are. It was the way Emanwari responded when Tariq Woolen made that terrible mistake in getting the taunting penalty, which could have cost him the game.
Yeah, and that's the question I asked Mike McDonald. Just asked about Emanwari's maturity in dealing with that situation and being allowed to assume a leadership role as a rookie. And he was so proud of Emanwari. And just to come back as well, I know I've been talking about him a lot all season, and that's largely down to Michael Sean Dugar, who gave us
to the point where I'd say your wife was getting a little bit concerned.
I think so, yeah. Who's the
so he was too.
About? But Kieran made such a great point. As much as I'm talking about him, you talk about Denver, it's Nick Benito. You mentioned the Steelers, it's TJ Watt. You mentioned the Browns, it's Myles Garrett. We're not really talking about any one particular name with this defense, and it's a testament to the unit that it is, and a testament to Mike McDonald. And you mentioned the importance of a defensive-minded coach versus an offensive-minded coach. And I think I've been trying to read up about what makes this defense so good, because when we get down to the X's and O's and nickel and dime and all that kind of stuff, I can't say I'm largely hugely versed on it, but it's the unit. It's no one particular star. Yes, Nick Emanwari playing in that nickel, he gives cover, so they don't have to. They can keep enough numbers back in the secondary, and he almost acts as a hybrid with the linebackers. But they've got one of the highest pressure rates in the league and one of the lowest blitz percentages as well. And that's just a testament to the discipline to a man. across the board. And that's, those two elements just make it so difficult to break down.
When you talk about the parallels maybe with the Legion of Boom in the past or the dark side defense that we're talking about now, I mean, Pete Carroll and the GM at the time, whose name escapes me, they went out and they looked for those hybrid players. They were pioneers in looking at defensive backs who were that little bit bigger than the average model and could hit hard and would do a job in all phases, whether it was in the running game or in the passing game, stopping the run or stopping the pass. Mike McDonald has done his research. He's gone back. I heard a really interesting anecdote during the week where he'd gone back to talk to Jesse Minter, who had upgraded what McDonald himself had done at Michigan. McDonald was so impressed he wanted to go back and pick Minter's brain. So he's not resting on his laurels, and you can see that in that Seahawks unit, the way they've evolved over the past 2 years. And to your point, it's not necessarily about talent. It's about the way that they play. It's not schematic. It's not talent. It's about the speed, the ferocity off the ball, the rallying to the ball, all the things that teams talk about and coaches talk about, but you see it in practice with them.
Yeah, and you talk about culture, you talk about identity, and you mentioned John Schneider as well a while ago. I mean, no greater person to bring into the building on the offensive side of the ball than Cooper Kupp. Somebody who you want to establish that kind of identity and culture. We spoke to Jordan Rodriguez during the week about that drive in the NFC Championship game and his influence on that, be it in an early catch and run, a key block as well, just being a ferocious blocker, and then playing that part and getting his touchdown at the end of that role, just rewards for that shift he put in. I mean, he knows he's not right wide receiver number 1, 2, he's 3, 4 possibly, but like what a load that takes off JSN as well, not to be the sole focus. And Jordan Rodriguez also pointed out that Mike Vrabel, he's a big Cooper Kupp fan, and he'd be well aware of the impact that Kupp still could make in this game as well. And so that again, will allow Jackson Smith and Jigba a little bit of breathing space to say, I'm not the only focus of this defense.
Sorry, one more thing to watch is also, I mean, it was absorbed in the Rams game, but the run game with Sharp and Abian out, how is that? The Vrabel's going to be dialing up X, Y, and Z to deal with that. But watch how that kind of develops during the course of the game. Again, Super Bowl's tight margins, very cagey the first half. Let's see how that goes. But something to think about.
We've been waxing lyrical about the Seahawks defense, but if there's a reason why Sam Darnold has made believers of a lot of the press corps and a lot of the analysts and experts who we've been talking to around this game, and why I guess the bookies have them as favorites. We saw it on display in the NFC Championship game, Brian, where Darnold had to put up 345 yards in the passing game, throw for 3 touchdowns, was error-free on top of all of that because of the juggernaut they were up against on the other side, and because that defense really for the first time all season got owned by the Rams.
Yeah, and I suppose people were questioning even going into the championship game whether he could put up those type of numbers. We saw the victory, a comprehensive victory against the 49ers. I wouldn't say he didn't have to do a lot. The game seemed to be won very early because of other circumstances within the game, so he didn't necessarily have to go out and throw for huge yards. So for him to come out and have the mindset in the championship game, and we spoke during the week in particular around that particular drive before halftime, how some teams would have accepted a field goal, but they went, no, we're going to go with a real aggressive manner, excuse me, to go after the touchdown and the huge show down the field. And he was comfortable in that situation. People have been questioning whether he would evolve into a situation where he could deal with what was being said about him going into a game with that enormity. And as well as that, the game itself, how the manner in that game had it was so tightly. We're going into the fourth quarter, no one's aware who's actually going to win. He still found a way to put it out at the end.
And that is their signature win, and that is the win that realistically has installed them as favourites with the bookies. We'll talk about the team trying to take them down a peg or two right after this.
You know great odds, you're in control, you always bet responsibly, and you're not afraid to choose alternatives. That's why you bet with QuinnBet. Build your own unique football bets with Create a Bet. Winning team, first goal scorer, number of goals, the possibilities are endless. And with a 4-star Trustpilot customer service rating, why not give QuinnBet a shot? QuinnBet, we bet you love it.
Welcome back to the Irish NFL show, Super Bowl LX preview, live from the site of the game, Levi Stadium at Santa Clara in California. We've talked about the Seahawks. We've talked about the scene that's set for the game itself. Let's talk about the New England Patriots now, Shane, who are the underdogs in this game. You were representing passionately for them earlier. Why are you so confident that they can win?
I'm confident it's possible. Look, the Seahawks are favored for a reason because of, what area of the game are the Seahawks really weak in? Offense, not particularly weak there. Defense, not particularly weak there. And special teams have gotten a lot of pay, particularly in the playoffs so far. And as long as Sam Darnold is clean, well then, what is the path for the Patriots here? I just think the talk around town this week is almost as if the Patriots are more heavier underdogs than just 4.5 points. I think a lot of people are really sort of backing the Seahawks to win. I think what we sort of missed the fact that Drake May, of course, in the playoffs, he's not played his best football, but he was second in the MVP conversation for a reason in terms of how well that offense has played. And give Josh McDaniels 2 weeks to plan, then maybe we might be able to see something better. The offensive line might be an issue. We can talk about that maybe in more depth later on. But the defense, I think, is the big thing, is the fact that they've come hot at the right time. Pat Leonard on the show earlier on in the week said sometimes it's not always the best team that wins, it's the hottest. You can definitely say for the Patriots defense, they're really hot right now and coming in hot at the right time. And I don't know whether I don't start throwing around words like disrespect, 'cause maybe I'm trying to put too many sort of newspapers on the dressing room wall here. But I think a lot
of agitated.
I think
the last couple of days has really got you.
A lot of people are looking at this and be like, "Oh, Seahawks definitely going to win. The Seahawks going to win. Who do you think is going to win? The Seahawks. Who do you think is going to win? The Seahawks." I'm like, "All right, come on." Surely somebody sort of sees something in how Drake May has played, the deep pass and how well they've done, the fact that the wide receivers are all there. I definitely think it's possible. That's not to say that the challenge is monumental when it comes to what the Seahawks have to do. And we'll talk about just the nature of the Seahawks pressure, because as much as Kieran was saying earlier that the Seahawks are the most blitz heavy, when they do blitz, their pressure on the quarterback is pretty significant and they get some significant payload from it. So it's going to be a very, very difficult task for sure.
Kieran, one of the things that would put doubts in my mind is, every Bostonian I've talked to as they've been flooding into town over the last 24 hours has said, yeah, Drake May's due a good game. He's due a good game. We're confident that we're going to see it this Sunday. It's who he's throwing to that gives me slight concerns because, man for man, the Seahawks wide receivers are streets ahead of what Drake May has available to him in that Patriots passing game.
Yeah, absolutely. But the ironic thing is we're talking about possibly a very defensive Super Bowl and two defensive teams, but we've got two of the most explosive quarterbacks statistically, and he has had downfield options, and you talked about the success that Drake May has found down the field. That Keyshawn Boutte catch in the championship game was absolutely unbelievable a couple of weeks ago, and
it's a good point because that's what woke a lot of people up this season in particular to Drake May. He throws a beautiful deep ball.
Yeah, absolutely. And and we talked about Henderson and Stevenson and the compliment that they give the passing game as well. As the week has gone on, I agree with you. My margin is narrowing. I came here quite emphatic that the Seahawks were going to win and possibly win comfortably. But the more you talk to people, the more that they can convince you. And it's easy to forget. The Rams scored 27 points on the Seattle Seahawks defense a couple of weeks ago, so they're not impenetrable. And you've got the best and most experienced offensive coordinator in the history of the game in Josh McDaniels. And Mike McDonald spoke about if there was one limitation or one thing he wasn't thrilled about in preparation for the Super Bowl, it's having too much time to prepare. And we alluded to that fact that maybe he's worried about the time that the OC, Josh McDaniels, has had to prepare for this defense. Because, you can be sure he's going to be dialing up something. I'd expect to see maybe a little razzle-dazzle early on in the game as well. Maybe a little Philly special, a Boston special, maybe, I don't know. But, and you've also got the Drake May rushing effect as well. He's going to be the bigger rushing threat in terms of having that double threat on offense as well. So, there are paths to success for this Patriots offense.
If you buy into the idea, as I do, Kieran, that iron sharpens iron, and this is another point that I've heard from a lot of Patriots fans and a lot of Patriots analysts over the past couple of days in particular, is that the Patriots have played against two of the best defenses in the league. They overcame them to get here in the playoffs, in the Texans, and at Mile High against the Broncos. Drake May didn't have the two best games of his season in those games. but he had some of the most terrifying pass rushers in the league coming up against him. He's not going to see anything tomorrow that he hasn't already seen.
Exactly. And what you just said gets lost a lot, because a lot of people have been talking, harping on the fact that the Patriots have had a quote unquote easier road than other people. But again, they've handled everybody that's come up against them. They handled the Texans, the Chargers. You can say what if they were shorthanded or whatever, but they took care of business. But yeah, you're right. I mean, it's just the fact that they're able to just eke out these wins, but they're able to kind of iron sharpens iron, and they're able to just kind of galvanize what they have and work towards what they're doing right now. I think the fact that, and as the week has gone on, I did speak earlier in the week. I thought that the Seahawks would, they would keep it tight, later into the third quarter, the fourth quarter. I'm starting to come around as the days go on. I'm starting to believe more in this defense. I think they can go toe to toe. Again, the free agents they picked up: Milton Williams, Harold Landry, Spillane, Clavon Chase, and all these guys have been phenomenal additions. What the Patriots needed at the particular time to go from 4-13 to where they are now, 13-4 in the Super Bowl. So I'm starting to come around each and every day, just to looking at each aspect. And again, the run game, I talked about it earlier about Sharp and Abian out, but the run game, you're looking at two guys in Henderson and Stevenson who can bust out for 40, 50, 60 in the blink of an eye. They are real weapons, and that's something that Seattle, I know they'll definitely be ready for, but are they going to be able to cope with it? Because Vrabel's smash mouth. He's grizzly. He's got the linebacker attitude that we're going to mess you up and you're going to have to deal with it. So he's just going to have to, he's going to be, probably putting some stuff in the OC's
Lorenzo Neal talked about that as well. Lorenzo Neal was saying when he played against Vrabel, he said he was one of the linebackers that he loved coming up against it. Those boys just went at it.
I mean, I'm a Giants fan, but I love Vrabel. I would have loved Vrabel before we got Harbaugh. I wanted him. I wanted Drake May back in the day too. That's how it is, again, sliding doors moments. But how can you not love Vrabel? And the players, you look at all the players when Vrabel talks or when they speak about Vrabel, he's a player's coach. He's tough. He's hard nosed. He's no nonsense. He's almost like a high school football coach that just doesn't intimidate but commands respect from everybody because he's been there. He's physically imposing, and that's the kind of guy you want to be leading your team.
It's not just toughness either. They've been opportunistic. They have 4 picks as well, 4 interceptions from this secondary alone in the playoffs as well. In the playoffs. In the postseason. So they look to knock Darnold off his mark as well. And if they get an early pick, you never know, they could unsettle him.
I want to give a special shout out for Demario Douglas, St. Augustine, Florida's Demario Douglas, Pop Douglas. I'm hoping for a big game from him. Just putting that out there. Shout out St. Augustine.
Shane, something that I lean on, and not that I'm dismissing the analytics and the X's and O's of it all and the talent on the field, but you look across other sports, and I think about Real Madrid and soccer and how they've won so many Champions Leagues. You think about the Kerry footballers, the Dublin footballers, the Kilkenny hurlers. Some teams are just born for the big stage, and they've achieved enough success that they expect to be there. They're not traveling, the Patriots, to the stadium tomorrow in hope. They're traveling in expectation that they pick up that 7th Lombardi. And these things can be self-fulfilling prophecies. They can be self-defeating prophecies, as we've seen with the Buffalo Bills in the past. The Patriots are that team. They believe they're that team. They believe the championships are in their DNA.
Well, yeah, look, it's important to also not act as sort of in an entitled way, but it's in saying that the so-called Patriot way is definitely sort of carried over from the Belichick era, which ended in a whimper, in a sort of refreshed way with Mike Vrabel, who, of course, cut his teeth in the coaching outside of the New England circle. He's not from the Belichick coaching tree especially, but, of course, he played there. As a player, he sort of set the tone for what that meant and managed to bring it forward. But I think Josh McDaniels is important as well. Josh McDaniels has won 6 Super Bowls as a coach in various different aspects with the New England Patriots, and he is, of course, back here again. So he's been here, he's done that. He knows exactly what to say to all these players in terms of making sure that they have the right play at the right moment at the right time. And that's the key difference here, I think, for New England is all the big things about the Belichick era and how McDaniels plays the situational football and reading the room as to what's the right thing to go for here. I think that has been really important over the course of the season. We were mentioning like how good defenses that New England played so far in this playoffs. And no quarterback has had to play 3 top 5 defenses in the playoffs and has beaten them. Cam Newton played 3. He lost to the Broncos. The last time the Super Bowl was here in Super Bowl 50. And so I think that's definitely a strength that they're bringing forward. So look, the extent to which DNA is a part of this Patriot team, because of course it is a complete, almost everything about on field is a complete clean break to what we saw from the last Super Bowl team that the Patriots played 7 years ago. It's difficult to read, but I think certainly in terms of like some parts of the coaching, in the same way we talk about bad culture in other teams, there is good culture in New England. It'd be interesting to know as to how that affects how they perform, particularly in the opening passes, because those are the passes that Josh McDaniels is going to have the most time to prepare for, as Kieran was alluding to earlier, in order to bring the best stuff from early on.
You look at Robert Kraft, he looks 10 years younger this week. Like, you could see him
it's
light up. He's out there dancing with Cardi B
I was going to
last
say,
night.
it's Cardi B getting him going all the time, you know.
Steady on there.
Dancing, that is, dancing.
But Kieran, you know, a lot of what Shane has said really resonates with me, because they looked very relaxed at their press availability as well. I know, like we said it during the week, you can read too much into body language one way or the other, and after the game, it's not going to make any difference. But I was struck by just how chill the Patriots were.
Yeah, and on both sides, and it's like we've talked about it so much this week. This is an absolute circus. It's absolutely nuts.
It's taking it out of me. I can only imagine what it's like for them.
100%. These players are being pulled every direction, every day, you know, and they're completely filling their media obligations. There's nobody hiding away. There's nobody shying away. I mean, when we walked through the Seahawks press availability, they were literally out there sitting there, you know, ready to have a chat, willing to have a chat, and to a man, they were more than courteous. But that must take a lot out of you mentally. So it's a credit to the coaching staff, and it's a credit to everybody in the building in preparing these guys mentally. I mean, a lot of them are young guys, especially you know on both sides. There's a lot of young players on both teams. This is not like nothing that they've seen before if they haven't been in a Super Bowl. And so yeah, it's all about preparation. It's all about whoever's talking to them, because a lot of the winning and losing of this game will be won between the ears. That's 6 inches. You know, we talk about that being the most important, body part when it comes to getting over the line. And so yeah, no, there's been no sign of nerves, no sign of no one's thrown a wobble or anything like that throughout the week.
I just want to point out three people who I think will be very, very key to how this game will go for the New England Patriots in terms of like who are the game changers going to force. Because people talk about sort of Gonzalez and Drake May, whatever. First person I think is Will Campbell. We saw in the game against Houston how the Houston defense ran through the Patriots offensive line like a train going through a cake at times. It was remarkable how Drake May managed to a gâteau. But it was really strong in terms of how much pressure that Drake May had to deal with. So I think if Campbell is fit and is working through everything and doesn't let the occasion get to him, and I felt in the media availability during the week, I think it almost felt like it felt too much for him. Maybe he's just not a guy who likes to talk to people. He's rather just focused on the game.
They're going to be helping him out.
Yeah. The second person is Ramon Stevenson. You were talking about how strong the Patriots run game is. Trayvon Henderson has gotten a lot of the buzz. Stevenson is the one who has fixed his big problem when it comes to turnovers and has really gotten a lot of nice sort of ground and pound for those sort of like 3rd and 2 situations. But the big one, I think, Milton Williams, because you actually look at the Patriots sort of pass rush success. They're bottom 10 when Milton Williams is not in the team. They're top 10 when he is in the team. It's an entire second difference when it comes to when Patriots players are making the tackles against the Seahawks run, getting to Sam Darnold. And his performance, of course, he's Super Bowl winner with the Eagles last year. I think his performance and his experience will be key in this game.
That's why they paid him $100 million.
Exactly.
Shane's been gassing up the Patriots for 45 minutes. Wait till he picks the Seahawks after the break now to win the game, because the hour is upon us. We're going to be making our picks right after this.
You know great odds, you're in control, you always bet responsibly, and you're not afraid to choose alternatives. That's why you bet with QuinnBet. Build your own unique football bets with Create a Bet. Winning team, first goal scorer, number of goals, the possibilities are endless. And with a 4-star Trustpilot customer service rating, why not give QuinnBet a shot? QuinnBet, we bet you love it.
Welcome back to the Irish NFL Show's live Super Bowl LX preview. We're just in the shadow and across the car park. The Smart Park from Levi Stadium in Santa Clara, where it'll all go down tomorrow in just over 24 hours' time. It's come to that point where we need to put our necks on the line and pick who we think is going to win the game. Kieran O'Donovan, the honour falls to you to get us rolling here.
I'm going to keep it brief. As I said, I was emphatic on the Seahawks when we came into the week. The gap has narrowed significantly. Shane did mention early on, before we ever kicked off this week, you said that if the Patriots are to win, they're going to have to make it an ugly game. That's not what we want to see. We want to see, we want to see explosive plays. We want to see, all the glitz and glamour. We want to see the receivers in all their glory. While I think the Patriots have paths to success and we outlined them, I just think there's more pitfalls for the Patriots. One interesting thing I read earlier on today was the matchup between Christian Gonzalez and Jackson Smith-Njigba and the influence that refereeing may have on this game. It was a former coach was asked about it and basically said if they don't allow Christian Gonzalez to hold, if they're tight on holding penalties, then Jackson Smith-Njigba, if they leave him one-on-one, could have a field day. And so that, little things like that may be the difference. I just think
tend to swallow the whistle in the Super Bowl.
Well, in that case, that would bode well for the Patriots. So, having said all that, I think that the Seahawks are a more complete team, and I think the Seahawks are going to do it.
Shane, we know you're picking the Patriots. How are you justifying it?
Well, I didn't say I was picking the Patriots. If you actually look at what the Seahawks are coming in, look, they're favorites for a reason. Sam Darnold has been playing some pretty clean football in the playoffs, which I think is a moment when it really counts. We saw that against LA Rams. Have beaten the LA Rams. We were talking about the fact that that's probably almost like this sort of de facto real Super Bowl, like we saw like the Cowboys and Niners play in the early 90s. They definitely had that kind of feel about it. We're worried about the Nick Emamori injury on the Seattle defense. That Seattle defense is fantastic at setting up in a certain way you actually can't really read what way they're going to do it. And of course, special teams is really key. But hold on just a minute. Not so fast, my friends. Look at everything that the Patriots are bringing to the table. The defense, which is playing exceptionally physical football. The fact that as much as Drake May has been a little bit messier with the ball, he's been messier with the ball in the playoffs when it's been snowing in New England and a blizzard came across Colorado. Look at the weather out there today. He's a North Carolina boy. He's going to come back and start playing his really, really fast football. As much people talk about his shoulder injury at the start of the week, I think fair to say that it's fine. I am worried about Christian Gonzalez. I asked him earlier on during the week about how he's preparing for Jackson Smith-Njigba. He didn't like being asked that question at all. So, but who am I confident in? The Patriots frontline defenders. Christian Ellis, we saw how hard and fast you can tackle, particularly in that game against the New York Giants. Milton Williams, who I think can make a really, really good push. So for that reason, give me the Patriots.
Ryan?
Shane, you forgot the Chargers game in the playoffs, which didn't have any adverse weather conditions, and Drake May didn't play really well in that game. Just thought I'd throw that one in the mix.
Still cold. I know it's one of the top 5 defenses in the league. Let's see you do it.
So I get in for tomorrow now?
And with the hat, all objectivity has been lost.
It comes back for me to what a lot of people said this week, Conor, which is you look at over the course of the season, who the Seahawks have had to play on their schedule, who they've had to be, the compelling manner of how they've come to the Super Bowl within their performance in the playoffs. And everyone was talking about Sam Darnold as he's going to have to deal with the situation tomorrow. I don't think Drake May been playing very well in the playoffs, but no one's really talking about whether he's going to be able to deal with the situation tomorrow. I think tomorrow might be one game too far for the Patriots. Fantastic season. They're on merit. They're back. They'll probably be back next year challenging again, but I won't be back with Lombardi. I have the Seahawks winning, and I'll give you a score, Conor.
You're going the extra mile for us.
Oh, if I get this one right tomorrow, I'll be doing the Euro Millions as soon as I get home. 27-14 Seahawks.
QuinnBet will have to plan a Brian O'Leary special on that now.
There's a few specials there already.
Shane, I'm going to pick up on a thread that you dangled there a little moment ago, where you talked about how people were talking after that NFC Championship game as, oh, that's the Super Bowl. Those were the two best teams in the league. Whoever comes out of the AFC is just going to walk into that buzzsaw. And we saw the Seahawks really erase any of the doubts that we might have had about them in that game. Such was the caliber of the opposition, and such was the offensive performance that the Rams put up, that when you put that Seahawks defense, again, as we said a little bit earlier, in the blender, for the first time we've seen any team this season do that. The Darnold stepped up and the offense stepped up, and they put together the performance that everybody doubted that Sam Darnold and that offense had in them in the biggest spot to get here. And we had a conversation with Lindsay Rhodes from Sumer Sports, which is one of the ones that stuck with me through the week, because Lindsay's so into the data and she walked us through everything that she's seen from both teams. And her doubt over the Patriots was, it's because I haven't seen it done. You know, we were talking off camera to Phil, one of the guys on the CBS crew here, and he was saying, you know, people are talking about the Patriots schedule, and they're talking about all the things that they haven't done and all the teams that they haven't played. And yeah, you can look at the Seahawks and say, yeah, but that Rams game is their signature victory this year. I spoke about this, you know, as a Bears fan earlier on in the playoffs, how the most dangerous weapon you can have in the playoffs isn't a wide receiver. It isn't an edge rusher. It isn't who you got in the coaching room. It isn't a running back, and it isn't a cornerback. Belief is the most dangerous weapon you can have in the playoffs. I look at those two teams and I see the Patriots believing that this 7th Lombardi is in their destiny. I see an organization, as we spoke about, that has championships in its DNA, that is going to leave no stone unturned. I see the most detail-oriented coach in the NFL and Mike Vrabel. I see an offensive coordinator who's been there and done that time and time again. I see a defensive coordinator who had to step up when the original defensive coordinator was diagnosed with cancer, who's now thankfully cancer-free. That's another boost that the Patriots got in the run-up to this game. When we arrived a week ago, or just under a week ago, I had Seahawks written all over my prediction, but I'm going to flip. I think the Patriots are going to get it done tomorrow. I think they're going to get that 7th Lombardi. That makes me sick to the absolute bottom of my soul, but it is what's going to happen. We got the guys off screen here as well, of course, because it's not just the 4 ugly mugs here in front of the camera. Kieran Boyle, who you got?
Pats 20, Seahawks 17.
Oh, Pats.
Pats 20, Seahawks 17. Okay, that's a nice one.
Dan Costello, who is a Seahawks fan, so
Seahawks 31, Pats 20.
Seahawks 31, Pats 20. Okay.
And he's got the
Craig?
Seahawks. Craig Rigdon, our producer.
Seahawks 24, Pats 21.
Okay, Craig has the
How about
Seahawks
the
too.
guys?
Yeah.
Well, let's ask the CBS guys while we're here.
Keep going.
Here you go.
Seahawks 21, Pats 7.
That's one Seahawks.
Seahawks 21, Pats 7. 7.
Not
Seahawks 27, Pats 14.
Hawks again,
Okay.
Phil.
Pats 17, Hawks 14.
He's got the
Okay.
Pats.
yeah,
That's your ugly game for you.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
Pats 23, Seahawks 17.
Okay,
no,
we
that's
got
nice.
one more for the
Seahawks
Pats.
17.
Great
Even
stuff.
Stevens.
And appropriate that we get our friends at CBS to give us their predictions. We couldn't do this without their help year in, year out. You know, they go above and beyond to make this a very special Super Bowl preview for us. I hope you've enjoyed it watching at home. We're going to do some of the thank yous now, because in addition to CBS, we've got a team of thousands here that support us. Our commercial partners, Quinn Bet Nile, has been a brilliant friend to the show. Dunes and Drams, Dave, who came out with us this week, has been brilliant this year. Kevin, Root Point, year in, year out, has been with us. Kieran at the Arlington, another Kieran at the Tap House. Our diversity inclusion committee has got to get on this. There's too many Kierans involved in this whole thing. And we're here because we got the support back home as well. We got the wives and partners, Anna, Emma, Lindsay, Heather, Dee, who put in the hard yards so we can come out here and have fun. Kids who are waiting to see the guys when they get back home. Thanks for all that you do to make us the best at what we do. That's the Irish NFL show, Super Bowl LX preview. Enjoy the game wherever you're watching it tomorrow.